Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right from the studios of KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston, your community radio station. We have a great program for you today. Molly Cook, look out. This is going to be a fun one to watch as she challenges the one and only John Whitmire. That is in Senate District 15. We have a great interview with her. I was excited to talk to this young woman because what I see when I see young people like this running for these positions is the future of what is up for Texas, the future of what we can expect. And she has crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. So I want you guys to check out Molly Cook. That's who we're interviewing at the end of the show today. The nerve of Altria. The commercial, have you seen that ad that they put out? Beyond tobacco. We are going beyond tobacco. We have polluted the lungs of so many people, and now we're going beyond. So you pay to get your lungs screwed, and you pay us again to fix it. We're going to talk about inflation. You've been lied to about inflation. You've been made to believe that government has something to do with inflation. It's not the private sector. Folks, I want you to listen to this little narrative that I give on inflation in detail. It is imperative so that we can put the right people in there that's going to change policy, not for government, but for those responsible for really creating inflation. And of course, we're going to have a little Nixon next here with Jen Psaki, where she challenges reporters who have not your best interest at hand. Steve Schmidt, I love my ex-Republican buddy Steve Schmidt. All Republicans don't need to become Democrats like Steve has become to do the right thing. You can be a Republican and vote appropriately. You can be a Republican and care. You can be a conservative and care. What you should never be is that which does evil to the American people. We are in our winter fun drive, but folks, please stick with me. I'm not just going to give you a fun drive pitch. I'm not just going to be doing a whole lot of pitching and pitching and pitching. I'm going to do a short pitch here at the beginning. I'm going to do a slight little pitch in the middle, and then at the end, a small pitch. Don't forget, please support the show. Support the station as well. Why am I asking you to support KPFT 90.1 FM Houston? It is extremely important. Remember that KPFT embraces cultural diversity. We represent the entire Houston, the entire metropolitan area. We represent the entire country. KPFT supports programming that's not the status quo. We challenge the status quo. We don't give you what the corporatocracy just want to give you. We are here to tell you not only the truth, but to express it in a way that we all understand. That's KPFT's job. We are not trying to forget the past. We embrace the past, and we are there to celebrate the future because things change. What am I saying? Please remember KPFT 90.1 FM is a gem. We are in the process of moving. We are in the process of relocating to a new space. We need you more than we have ever needed you before to keep this thing going. Over 50 years of giving you great info, not only progressive programming, but alternative programming. What do we mean by alternative programming? We mean things that you are not going to get elsewhere. We also mean telling you the truth about things that others may not want you to know. So please remember, folks, call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. 888. But even better, visit kpft.org. Click the donate button. Make sure you select Politics Done Right for the program. The form will give you your donate and gift options. Please get one of my several books out there. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, for a contribution of $120. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors for a contribution of $120. How to make America utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it, for a pledge of $120. Get any 2 of those books for $200, any 3 of those books for $250. The contributions for my books go directly to support our station, KPFT 90.1 FM. Alternatively, folks, please get your basic KPFT only membership for $40, a Pacifica only membership for $25, or choose from one of our many other gifts for your contribution. Just go to kpft.org. Choose Politics Done Right for the program and select an option either for our books or something else to support the station. It is definitely worth it. You know what? Let's get busy. I want to show you this video for a very special reason, okay? Everybody remember, I think it was Philip Morris who got renamed into Altria, okay? But this commercial, this ad that they're playing on TV, 15 seconds. I'm going to play it in a minute. But I want you to listen to this ad in detail and tell the pathology is such, their psychopathy is so bad that they don't see the immorality of this ad. I want to play it for you, and then we'll take it on the other side because it's very important. Check it out.
Altria is moving in a new direction. From being known as a tobacco company to being recognized as a tobacco harm reduction company. Moving beyond smoking.
All right, do you guys remember Beyond Petroleum? It's I guess that caught on. Beyond Petroleum. We're no longer going to do all these polluting. But petroleum, the kind of pollution that petroleum does is bad, right? But it served a useful need. It was responsible for the Industrial Revolution. And we can also mitigate petroleum in the long run if we were to institute policies that fix our past mistakes. Yes, we have killed a lot of people with benzene. Yes, we've killed a lot of people with methane. Yes, we've killed a lot of people with hurricanes and all that. But we can mitigate some of that right now, right? And I understand that. And not only that, we burn wood. We burn a lot of things that throw crap into the air. But this one is the hurtful one. When you have a company that says, I am going to make you sick. This is what this ad says. I am going to make you sick. And then I'm going to cure you from the sickness I caused. That's that commercial. That's that ad. And that they couldn't see that, somebody would interpret it that way in the first place. It's astounding. Here, we are Altria. We addicted you to nicotine. We addicted you to heart disease. We addicted you, or we made you get all these lung issues. And guess what? We've decided that we're going to go beyond it now. What we're going to do is we are going to cure you from all the sins that we created by making you sick. But there's one catch. There's one catch to this. You paid for us to make you sick, and now you are going to pay us to make you well. The corporation, capitalism at its best. And that many have not seen that. That a publicist who got that commercial shows you the psychopathy. I'm looking at this ad, and they're playing this ad in circulation all over the internet, all over cable media. And I'm like, ding dong, don't you see it? You paid us to make you sick, and you're going to pay us to make you well. It's astounding. The way they think we are so stupid. And you know why they think we are so stupid? Because we have allowed them to think that. So folks, all I'm asking you, let's share these programs. Let's share these things. Let's let people understand all these issues, right? Let's talk about inflation. And this is important because, Eric Ledoux and Eric Hayes and many others here somehow want to blame government for inflation. The truth of the matter is the government has very little to do with inflation. Now, the Federal Reserve can clamp down on the money supply, okay? They can clamp down on the money supply to slow the economy down. When the economy slows down, inflation goes down. And why inflation goes down? Because these people who are the thugs have to lower the price of their products so that people start buying them again. Okay, that's how it works. In other words, I increase the interest rates, there's more money taken out of the economy, all that sort of stuff. Now, what really should cause inflation in a true... I want to talk about three items. Supply and demand, número uno. Número dos, pricing power. And número tres, whatever the market can bear. All right? And I'm going to start with whatever the market can bear. What that means is whenever a company is going to price their products, the first thing they have to know is what is their break-even spot. In other words, if I'm selling gasoline, I need to know how much that gasoline costs me per gallon. And within that gallon of gasoline is how much does it cost to frack it, meaning to turn it from petroleum into gasoline in the frackers. It also tells me how much I am going to spend to deliver the gasoline, how much I'm going to pay for insurance and all of that kind of stuff to keep the company running. And after I add up all those costs, I divide it into the number of gallons of gasoline that I would sell. And that tells me what my break-even point is going to be. In other words, I have to recover all those salaries that without profit, that's my break-even point. If I sell gasoline at this price, I can't go below that, or else I constantly lose money. So that's the price of gasoline. Okay, so we're there. We're there at the price of gasoline. Now, everything else that goes on top of that price, anything that I charge more than what that gasoline costs to manufacture, deliver, and to support all the other external costs, that is profit. Now, generally in a capitalist system, what we try to do is maximize profits for the shareholders. In other words, get as much money for the shareholders and bonuses for the executives. That's what we try to do. It's very important. Now, but how do we determine how high above our manufacturing and delivery costs can be? That is where the other word that I told you about, supply and demand, comes in. We know what the supply is, right? Rather, we know if a lot of people demand, this product, we can start charging a very high price, irrespective of supply, right? If a lot of people want it, and they have the money to do it, I can actually sell. Now, here's a kicker, though. If we have competition, right? I have my competition in order to get market share, in order to get me to buy from Exxon as opposed to buying from all the 10 other manufacturers of gas, and we don't have that many manufacturers of gas. We have to play this game of I lower my price, you lower your price, I lower my... So we get a competition to get to the lowest point above what my manufacturing and delivery cost is. And there's a sweet spot, right, where you drop the price until you have that better price. We're talking all supply and demand right now. But under capitalism, right, where I must maximize the profit at all costs for my shareholders and maximize bonuses for my executives, what do? If I see a company is making some money,
I am going to buy that company as best as I can to remove my competition. And when I remove that competition, I start building a monopoly. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? You can buy the company or you can have coercion, which means both of you decide we are not going to drop below this particular price. That's how we do it, right? We cannot drop below this particular price. And that's what we do. So remember, we're talking three things: price and power. You have price and power if there is nobody that can compete with you, or you have the market. The market belongs to you. You have price and power. Supply and demand. If there is enough demand, and supply, the prices also go down based on there being enough supply to meet that demand. So that is a restraint on you as well. What are we trying to accomplish here, or why do I call the private sector the thugs in ties and suits? Because of the following. We just got out of a pandemic. People are suffering, right? And the government decides, for those who are suffering, we are going to put money in their pockets so that they can do the things that they need to do, which means now that we have enough money to chase that abundant supply of gasoline. Again, we have enough supply. But we are going to raise the price of gasoline until that amount of money that the government and others gave to these people to spend, till they have exhausted it. And what's the maximum amount of money anyone can spend? What is that known as? Whatever the market can bear. What can the market bear for the individual? For any individual, you or anybody else, what can the market bear? The total income that you make from your job, or maybe from welfare, or maybe from whatever, your total income there, plus whatever you have in savings, if you have any savings, plus whatever you can get in credit. When you have exhausted your credit, when you have exhausted the amount that you can spend per month in income, and when you can exhaust whatever other sources you have, at that point, that is where the market freezes. And that is that is a maximum price that they can put an object. So what do these plutocrats know? These plutocrats know that Americans were given a lot of money. They were given money to get ahead, not to pass it right back to the plutocrats. Inflation, however, inflation is the way the plutocrats, the legal criminals, take back everything that was given to you. So when Eric Hayes come and he says, well, look, yes, people got their monies, they got increased wages, but it went with inflation. He's right. It's the evil thing to do. We give you a raise and we raise the price of all these products. So in effect, we annihilate the raise, because again, what do these corporations have? Because there's not ample competition, pricing power. I did a video on pricing power, look it up. So what I'm trying to tell all of you folks is this: you can't blame the government for something the private sector is predisposed to do and does. The private sector is there to make money for a few, those who own the stocks in these companies, those who own all of this. That's who that's who the private sector cares about. Nothing else. And as much money as you have, they will raise their prices to maximize whatever they can get from you. There are no shortages. We are swimming in oil. Saudi Arabia can pump more oil if they want to. Venezuela, we could decide to open up Venezuela and stop the embargo on Venezuela. There's ample oil all over. As an environmentalist, I don't want that oil out there. I really don't. I'm kind of glad if the price of oil would go to $10 a barrel. $10 a gallon. Then people would really start buying those electric cars, and people would really start doing all these things that they need to do to burn more. But whenever you go ahead, again, we can regulate inflation by the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates, which is what they're going to do, right? But guess who gets hurt right now? And this is where I talk about the evil of the economic system. Whenever inflation occurs, who gets hurt? The small man, the little person, they get hurt. All right? Whenever inflation, whenever they start to tighten money supply, who gets hurt? That same person who has less money. And who always win? The person with capital. Daniel Edo said the following, and you know what is very dangerous? What is very dangerous when somebody thinks they know something and does not. Daniel Edo says, whoa, shocking ignorance on the oil market and how it works. I'm sorry. I know exactly how the oil market works. The market is the entire world. That's what the market is. And that's, so I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see. Stop blaming the government for the economy right now. If we raise the interest rate, there will be a downturn in the economy and there will be a recession. Exactly, Dawn. Exactly. It is important. But people don't understand. The only people that hurt the economy, that causes these problems in the economy, it's the private sector. The corporatocracy. The corporatocracy looks to see what's the maximum they can extract. And those who don't have capital don't benefit from the maximum. So let me give an example. I always give the term, the market system is good for 20% and 80% of the people are slaves. And this is what I mean by that, right? Yeah, a lot of people own a little bit of stocks here and there. But those people who own enough of their well-being in stocks, right? It is okay that all this inflation comes. It is okay that, first of all, whenever these price increases come, take a look at the stocks. If you doubt it, just look at the stocks right now. As soon as the dollar store said they were going from a dollar store to a $1.25 store, the stock zoomed. It's not like we had 25% inflation, but they increased the price by 25%, right? It went through the roof. So those people who had stocks did very well. They did way above inflation, but the person who had to pay the increased cost in interest rates, in the inflated prices, they're the ones who pay the price. So my thing to Democrats right now who are going out there is they don't need to be scared of inflation as something that's going to take them down. They need to go ahead and attack the corporations now. They need to shame the corporations and point out that it is a defect in this capitalist system which needs to be changed, that actually creates a system that pilfers whatever gains Americans get. Because if Americans make gains and are making more money and you go ahead and price your product because there's more money out there, I can increase my price even though there's not a shortage. That is how the system works. It's not even wrong. It is by design that the system works. It is by design.
Don't forget, please support the show. Support the station as well. Why am I asking you to support KPFT 90.1 FM Houston? It is extremely important. Remember that KPFT embraces cultural diversity. We represent the entire Houston, the entire metropolitan area. We represent the entire country. KPFT supports programming that's not the status quo. We challenge the status quo. We don't give you what the corporatocracy just want to give you. We are here to tell you not only the truth, but to express it in a way that we all understand. That's KPFT's job. We are not trying to forget the past. We embrace the past, and we are there to celebrate the future because things change. What am I saying? Please remember KPFT 90.1 FM is a gem. We are in the process of moving. We are in the process of relocating to a new space. We need you more than we have ever needed you before to keep this thing going. Over 50 years of giving you great info, not only progressive programming, but alternative programming. What do we mean by alternative programming? We mean things that you are not going to get elsewhere. We also mean telling you the truth about things that others may not want you to know. So please remember, folks, call 713 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. But even better, visit kpft.org. Click the donate button. Make sure you select Politics Done Right for the program. The form will give you your donate and gift options. Please get one of my several books out there. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, for a contribution of $120. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors for a contribution of $120. How to make America utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it, for a pledge of $120. Get any 2 of those books for $200, any 3 of those books for $250. The contributions for my books go directly to support our station, KPFT 90.1 FM. Alternatively, folks, please get your basic KPFT only membership for $40, a Pacifica only membership for $25, or choose from one of our many other gifts for your contribution. Just go to kpft.org, choose Politics Done Right for the program, and select an option either for our books or something else to support the station. It is definitely worth it. I want you to see how even the vice president's chief of staff couldn't quite rid himself of the fascist nature of the Republican Party, even as he's looking for plausibility in case the fascists lose. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Let me start with the motivation of your former boss, former Vice President Pence, and why this week did he choose? He chose to give a big platform to this week. Why?
Well, Chuck, I think that, as you mentioned, the vice president has commented on January 6th on several occasions, including last summer at the Ronald Reagan Library. And he extended those remarks a little bit this week at the Federalist Society, primarily because the president's comments about the vice president had the ability to overturn the election, I think, merited response. Of course, there's nothing in the 12th Amendment or the Electoral Count Act that would afford a vice president that authority. It's why no vice president in 200 years has ever used that authority. And it's certainly not one that I think conservatives or Republicans would want Kamala Harris the ability to say she's going to reject votes from Texas or Wyoming or any other state heading into 2024.
Well, why did he stop there? Why didn't he say, look, it's been a year. There's just no evidence out there. This was a free and fair election. The Trump-Pence ticket lost. How come he didn't go that far?
Well, Chuck, I think like a lot of people, the vice president has significant concerns about the election. I think, and because of COVID.
Still?
Because of COVID, sure. I think that a lot of us do.
But there's been no evidence of fraud. You could disagree on the election law, but I understand that.
So I think there were significant concerns about what transpired in Pennsylvania, what transpired in Wisconsin, what transpired in Georgia when you said you had to have matching signatures. You didn't. You had election officials overruling state officials and saying we'll keep the balloting open, allowed universal access and mail-in balloting. But at the same time, the Constitution is clear as what that process is. You're afforded a chance to challenge. You're afforded a chance to bring legal challenges. But at the point of the Electoral College meeting on December 14th, at that point, the process is concluded. And that's why the Constitution wanted the states the ability to certify elections and not for the federal government.
Do you believe Joe Biden was a legitimately elected president? Does the former vice president
I believe that Joe Biden is a duly elected president of the United States. Yes.
Legitimately so. The election was legitimate. You may disagree with voting procedures, but the election itself was legitimate.
I think that's the same. It's the same question. I think that there were significant concerns about the process of that election that's going to create a cloud. But I think, Chuck, at the same time, to your point, the campaign had opportunities to bring that evidence up till December 14th and didn't. And so I think at this point you have to assume that he was duly elected. And the reality is that there was not enough significant fraud that was presented that would have overturned any of those states' elections.
Doesn't it say a lot that a year later that actually the more evidence has shown that no fraud happened? I mean, doesn't that even reinforce this even more a year later?
As I said, I think there are significant concerns, and I'm glad many states are looking to rectify, Chuck, but I acknowledge that the president's duly elected.
So as you can see, even as he understood what went on January 6th, even as he understood that it's a big lie, he still had to try to mitigate it somehow, right? That just maybe there were really some problems elsewhere. Well, as I've stated before, yes, we've seen voter fraud before. Yes, even during this election, there was voter fraud. Unfortunately, all the voter fraud that has been uncovered thus far has been Donald Trump voters trying to vote twice or trying to use dead people to vote. It's amazing how projection works. The things that you are accusing others of are the things that you actually do yourself. What I want to do first is show that there are good past Republicans out there that want the Republicans to reclaim their party. They want to ensure that we don't have this one-party monopoly at all, or that we have a group of people that are completely confused. So let's go ahead and listen to Brother Steve Schmidt. Love the guy.
Steve, what explains the difference today on this question between Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy?
Well, this division between the two, Lawrence, has been clear from the very beginning. Mitch McConnell tried to distance as much as he would or could after the January 6th incident. Kevin McCarthy famously went down to Mar-a-Lago. In those early days, what Republicans were most worried about was the cash flow, the campaign cash. Mitch McConnell believed that the insurrection would obliterate Republicans' ability to raise money from corporate donors. Kevin McCarthy took the opposite bet. He wanted to make sure that the Trump pipeline of cash was intact. And so right from the beginning, they've just have approached this issue differently. Mitch McConnell today said the obvious, which is that this was an insurrection, had a political intent. It was aimed at disrupting the peaceful transition of power. In the next breath, Mitch McConnell said, when he was asked a question, do you have confidence in the chairwoman of the Republican Party, who was the head of the organization that said violence is legitimate political discourse? He said he did. So it's all double talk. It's double speak, meant to obscure the reality that we have a two-party system, and one of those two parties has become an autocratic vessel in the United States. We don't live in Sweden, where there's 18 different Democratic parties, and that the loss of one of them to autocracy, whether it's a left party or a right party, isn't such a big deal. When you have a two-party system, it's an enormous deal. It's a threat to the continuation and survival of the republic. And the fact of the matter is, this Republican Party is a coalition that includes fascists, Proud Boy extremists, neo-Nazis, people filled with racial animus, and they're all part of a coalition. And of course, those parts cannot and do not fit together. But nevertheless, it's a convenience coalition because they seek to get back into political power. And you cannot let these people back into political power under any circumstances until the autocratic movement inside that party, which dominates it completely, is underground.
In effect, what he's telling good people of America, good Republicans included, at this point in time, a vote for Republicans is a vote to turn the country into a fascist state. And until that fascist nature of the Republican Party is underground, you will be unpatriotic. Any vote for any Republican at this point in time, and this is something that I don't generally say absolutely, but I'm saying it now. Any vote for any Republican at this point in time is a vote for fascism, because once they have control of the levers, there's absolutely nothing that's going to actually stop them. If you look at the meek ones who don't believe in this stuff, but they are willing to appease Trump, they're willing to appease those with the fascist intent. One cannot vote for Republicans in the next go round and consider themselves a patriotic American. That's an absolute statement. Jen Psaki looked like she wasn't in a very good mood today, but you know what? It was great because as you know what's going on in Ukraine with Russia and America trying to get people out, etc., she asked a really silly question. Why is it that under Biden, this is the second time you're asking people to evacuate? Again, the worst thing a reporter can do is go to a press conference and prove how uninformed, how ignorant they really are. Well, I want you to listen to how Jen Psaki handled her, and then we'll go ahead and take it on the other side.
We don't know if Putin has made up his mind. Why are we hearing this warning from Jake Sullivan that Americans should get out, ideally within the next 24 to 48 hours specifically? I don't believe we've heard that window from him before.
Because we recognize that if President Putin were to decide to invade, that this would make it a very difficult circumstance on the ground for American citizens. We don't have an assessment, as you heard him say, of him making that decision, but he could make that decision at any point. And we want to be very clear and direct with American citizens about the risk that that would pose to them, that the risk that would be posed to any civilian if they remain in the country.
This is now the second evacuation of Americans in the course.
It's not actually an evacuation, to be clear. American citizens can depart Ukraine. There are means of departing Ukraine. This is not a country where we are at war, where we have tens of thousands of troops who have been fighting a war for 20 years. So it's incredibly different.
Correct. You are correct in that. But it's the second time we've urged American citizens to get out of a country.
Actually, we've urged American citizens to depart a number of times, and that is
Afghanistan.
Well, I think this. But let me finish here because I think it's important for people to understand. We urged American citizens to depart Kazakhstan. We urged American citizens to depart Ethiopia. This is a responsibility that the State Department and our diplomats who are serving there and serving around the world take on to keep American citizens safe. And it may not be front and center on the news in the United States, but those are conflict areas and zones where we are constantly monitoring.
But these are the two major events that have happened under this administration. And
I would say the people in Ethiopia would differ with that, as would the people in Kazakhstan or other parts of the world where they have been under dangerous circumstances, and they look to the United States to provide up-to-date information of their safety and security in the country.
I mean, it is shameful that they just think the only thing that occurred in the rest of the world so far was Afghanistan and Ukraine. It's ridiculous, right? So Jen Psaki said, look, silly girl. Remember this. We told people to get out of Ethiopia. We told people to get out of Kyrgyzstan. We told people to get out of all these places. But that you guys in the news media can't walk and chew gum. That you guys in the news media only concentrate on particular issues that particular Republicans may want you to think about. That's not our fault. It's not our fault that you lack the intensity. It's not our fault that you lack the depth to actually know what's going on in the world. So let me school you, little girl. This is exactly what you need to know, because as it turns out, the American people need to know the truth and not the news media spun by folks who do not do the research, spun by folks who really do not understand what the hell is going on in the world as they play as if they are serious reporters. Today we have a very special guest. She is running to defeat an incumbent, a strong one at that, Senate District 15, the one and only John Whitmire. So who do we have with us? None other than Molly Cook. Molly, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Well, let me tell you something. When you decided to join this race and you decided to go big, didn't you?
I did. It felt right.
Well, not only did it feel right, it is time. The time is actually right for us to change the definition of leadership in this country. So I'm happy that you're doing this. First of all, let's start a little bit about, tell me a little about you. What kind of person are you? How'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? That sort of thing.
Oh, great. So I grew up in the northwest suburbs. I grew up in Spring near Klein High School with my parents, older brother, younger sister. And I went to high school in the Woodlands at College Park High School. Most people don't know that one, but high school in the Woodlands. And then I did undergrad at UT. and actually started as a music performance major and ended up switching into nursing. It didn't feel right to spend time in a practice room by myself for hours a day. I really wanted to be a nurse and achieve what was basically a childhood dream of being a nurse. And the first time I ever wanted to be a nurse was in 7th grade. And my pastor's wife was there's my dog.
Hey, it's real. It's good. It's good. It's real. We're real.
The pastor's wife at my church was actually the nurse at my junior high. And I spent a lot of time in her office, and I saw her respond when a kid actually cracked his head open on the playground one time. And this is gross little TMI, but she came in carrying like a trash bag full of like blood. And I thought that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I want to be the person that you call when an emergency happens. And so that seed was planted, and I did end up becoming an emergency room nurse, which was my dream.
Well, especially in these times, I think there are two professions that I really revere. That is teaching and nursing. And the reason why is that you just look at the history of the things of what we need right now, and those are just our basic needs. Now, you decided to well, first of all, activism isn't new for you at all. Tell us a little bit about how you've engaged the community before. Many people think, decide I want to be a politician and I just go in there and I want to get votes. But very few people really deserve the right to earn the vote. Tell us some of what the things that you've done.
Yeah. So when I moved back, I got let me start. I was an emergency room nurse because I wanted to be able to deal with emergencies, but also because you get to really understand what's going on with folks. I always say that the emergency room in jail is where people end up when we don't know what else to do for them. And it was very eye-opening. And so I was motivated to learn more about how I could help people and got a master's in public health. And when I moved back to Houston, ready to get to work, I was looking for ways to get involved in air quality. And that's how I found my way to the I-45 fight. And the I-45 fight has been the most meaningful and fulfilling work of my entire life. And it's been really exciting because we've been really successful. That project is still not expanded. And B, we worked across diverse groups, across the city, county, every area affected by I-45, and worked together lockstep, which, a lot of people talk about nonprofit work. People end up siloed. They don't work together well. We didn't see that at all. It's been really, really cooperative work with a lot of people. And what I was excited to bring to that fight, I remember showing up to the first meeting and saying, well, is this an election issue? It was during our city elections at that time. And then they were like, will you chair the elections committee? so, you show up, you end up in charge of something. But anyway, and that was kind of the first thing I offered. And then we did a bunch of door knocking. So I organized, I said, why aren't there residents in this room who are directly affected? And so I organized door knocking, and we went out, and this was largely in 2020 too, when the pandemic was kind of in full throw for all of us. We didn't know what was going on, but door knocking was still a safe activity to do. So we spent a lot of time organizing that. We hit as many doors as we possibly could that would be affected by the expansion. Started translating everything into Spanish so we could reach folks in the language they preferred to be reached in. And the group grew, and we built a real grassroots resistance. It was very exciting.
Now, SD 15, you get elected. You won the election, and you not only win the primary, but eventually you win the whole thing, and you go to Austin, and you're going to support that particular district. There's a whole lot of needs in the entire state of Texas, but specific to your district. What's one of the first things that you intend to go ahead and do for your constituents and the constituents of Texas? As a senator, you're responsible for the whole darn state.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first things, and so if I win in the primary, we have a safety district, and I won't stop campaigning. We have to make sure, right, this doesn't flip. But I will have the opportunity to start fundraising and knocking doors for other candidates who will have a more competitive general. So that will be very exciting to continue to get out the vote in the district and make sure that our Democrats are showing up and feeling powerful at the polls, and then moving into the session as well. And of course, I'll start preparing for the session. What kind of bills do we want to submit on day one, and who do we want to partner with, and what kind of relationships are we building? With a public health background, I have a unique preparedness to really look at what are the needs and what are the assets of the district. Why are there problems? Where are there successes? And how can we build on those? So that is the work that would begin after the March primary if I were to win. And it really is a very diverse district in every sense of the word. In this neighborhood, you only hear about flooding. In this neighborhood, you hear about schools. In this neighborhood, you hear about, displacement. And in every neighborhood, you do hear about voting rights. It's a big concern that's been at every single door. So all of those issues are near and dear to my heart. I want to focus on public health and public safety, and what that means can be very broad, right? What makes us healthy, what makes us safe. And it's not just the obvious things a lot of the time, and it's things like environmental justice. And that's sort of the why we do anything. It needs to be equitable. It needs to be outcomes focused. So environmental justice is a core value. And then I believe in the power of organizing. And that will be something that I would bring that I see missing from the Texas Senate, is really a focus on organizing, on making sure that whoever is in Austin, folks feel powerful to advocate for themselves, are educated on the process and where they can be involved and where they can speak up for themselves, and then supporting people in advocating for themselves and, making contacts across the state so we can shape change in whatever issue areas are important to folks.
Now, Molly, that's a candidate and the candidate message. Every single candidate, not only on the state level, not only on the local level, but on a national level, that's what I would like to hear out of them, that they are going out there to organize and they're going to talk to the people, bring the people in. One of the problems that I find that we have is people all want to govern in the abstract. They don't want to go into the neighborhoods. They don't want to go into the barrios. They don't want to go into the ghettos or all these other places. And it seemed to me like you're ready and willing to go. Now, when the Chronicle decided to endorse, I wanted to get a full picture of all these issues. And I found it a bit insulting and pathetic that one of the reasons to keep somebody in office is he's been there and he has experience of having been there, without saying, did he fight for monies that was already allocated for Texas, the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, which because as a state we have refused it, has continued to kill a bunch of Texans. You don't have to use those words. You're a politician now, and you're responsible for knowing how to say things. But in that light, we have a legislature in Austin that does not have the best interests of the citizens at hand. How are you going to use your power of organizing to let people understand? Because let me back up. This is a long question, but I have to ask it in this manner. If Texans are intelligent, our population's intelligent, just uninformed or misinformed, there is money on the table already paid for by Texans to give all our indigent care, to give those with a low salary care. Nobody knows it, and nobody is telling our citizens that. How do you intend to do it without allowing them to caricature your support for such a bill?
I would be so excited to go around the state to make sure people are aware, to go into every neighborhood. I see a lot of opportunities, specifically with Medicaid expansion, transportation reform. I can tell you with total confidence that there are a lot of people mad at TxDOT across the state in all kinds of different communities, whether that is suburban, urban, or rural. And then, of course, with education, the state is failing all of us in all three issue areas, and people are upset about it. Whether it's broadband access or Medicaid expansion, the people want it. 70% of Texans want Medicaid expansion, but I think fewer than 45% even knew that we were one of 12 states to opt out of it. There's, like you're saying, there's an education gap there. So I am a working person. I'm a nurse. I clock in and out of my job. I see what's going on with folks. I'm doing the real work. And I feel confident that I could make a difference going into communities and making sure people know. And, if there's a Republican legislator or a Democratic legislator who is not representing the will of their people, then let's talk to their people. Let's have people talk to people and shift power. I'm not interested in holding on to power and keeping it centralized. I'm interested in making the people powerful so that we can really shape this change. So I think it looks like getting in your car, going down the road and talking to people and doing that nurturing and loving work that it takes to build an organization.
Now, as a nurse and someone who knows it, it seems like you are, I don't know how you're saying it, sumamente cualificada, as you are ultimately, you're definitely qualified to challenge the current senator on that particular issue, and not only that, to garner support from his base on specifically on healthcare, but all the other issues that you just mentioned, both transportation and otherwise. Do you have the resources to really take care of getting your message out in the form that reaches all those who are voting?
I would say yes. And I would, our campaign has already showed that, I can proudly say that today we've knocked over 47,000 doors. And that is with a pretty much all volunteer team. We've definitely fairly compensate the canvassers who are working for us, but everybody else is a volunteer on the team. And we've knocked that many doors. We have over 100 volunteers. So that is, that's just the campaign. That's us starting day one with $0 and one volunteer, right? That's the movement we've been able to make since December 13th. And the district is being reached in ways that it's never been reached before. The incumbent's website is still only in English. Ours is in English and Spanish. And with a little more resources, we'll get it in Vietnamese so that we can reach more people and more languages. We have spoken to people like a woman in Spring Branch who told us her door has never been knocked on before. So the work of earning trust is slow, right? You have to show up, and you have to show up over and over again, and you have to give before you expect to receive, and you have to be willing to show people, make them feel heard. And the way they feel heard is by you acting on what they've told you, right? So I'm really confident in my abilities, basically with or without resources, to do this work, because I've been doing this work. But with resources that would come with the state Senate seat, I know that we can make change.
Well, look, I always ask, this is the last question, and it's a free for all for you. And that is, tell me, what would you have liked me to ask you, whether 1, 2, 3, 10 questions that you want to concentrate in one answer, and let me know, let the audience know what they need to know about you and how they can reach you.
Okay. I would say just what's the most, because a lot of people ask, what's your main priority, right? And the answer really is that it's not my priorities. It's whatever the priority of the people are. So the way I kind of translate that is bottom up planning. So whether we're talking about policies, projects, or programs, we have to take a bottom up approach to planning. And we don't do that in Texas. It's very top down. And to do bottom up, you have to center affected communities from the very beginning. So if you're building a freeway, you don't come in 20 years into designing it and ask them where they want an exit. You show up day one and say, hey, you would lose your homes. What should we do? So that is my value. I really do believe that people are smart and people need to be involved, that diversity creates the best outcomes, and that everyone needs a seat at the table. And I'm committed to that. And then to find us and to find out more, you can go to mollyfortexas.com. All words, no numbers, mollyfortexas.com. And then we're Molly for Texas across all social media as well. And you can really get a feel for who I am and what we're working on.
Molly Cook, State Senate District 15. She's going to be known pretty soon, maybe, as the incumbent killer. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget, please support the show. Support the station as well. Why am I asking you to support KPFT 90.1 FM Houston? It is extremely important. Remember that KPFT embraces cultural diversity. We represent the entire Houston, the entire metropolitan area. We represent the entire country. KPFT supports programming that's not the status quo. We challenge the status quo. We don't give you what the corporatocracy just want to give you. We are here to tell you not only the truth, but to express it in a way that we all understand. That's KPFT's job. We are not trying to forget the past. We embrace the past, and we are there to celebrate the future because things change. What am I saying? Please remember KPFT 90.1 FM is a gem. We are in the process of moving. We are in the process of relocating to a new space. We need you more than we have ever needed you before to keep this thing going. Over 50 years of giving you great info, not only progressive programming, but alternative programming. What do we mean by alternative programming? We mean things that you are not going to get elsewhere. We also mean telling you the truth about things that others may not want you to know. So please remember, folks, call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. But even better, visit kpft.org. Click the donate button. Make sure you select Politics Done Right for the program. The form will give you your donate and gift options. Please remember to keep your community radio station in your minds. Keep KPFT on your mind. Talk about it. Tell your friends about it. Tell them you know about this station in town, 90.1 FM Houston, that needs your support. That is there to provide that nourishment that we need. KPFT 90.1 FM Houston. You can listen and or watch Politics Done Right Mondays through Fridays on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Politics Done Right or on YouTube Live at politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Please do not forget to follow me on Twitter for updates. My Twitter handle is @Egberto Willies, @EGBERTOWILLIES. But don't you forget, listen to us live on air at KPFT 90.1 FM on Thursdays at noon and at Fridays at 11 a.m. all Central Time. Please get one of my several books out there. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, for a contribution of $120. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors for a contribution of $120. How to make America utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it, for a pledge of $120. Get any two of those books for $200, any three of those books for $250. The contributions from my books go directly to support our station, KPFT 90.1 FM. Alternatively, folks, please get your basic KPFT only membership for $40, a Pacifica only membership for $25, or choose from one of our many other gifts for your contribution. Just go to kpft.org, choose Politics Done Right for the program, and select an option either for our books or something else to support the station. It is definitely worth it. Well, folks, that's it for today. You know how I'm going to end this baby. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at